All right, folks, I'm sorry. We had to actually switch locations. And the reason we had to switch locations is because there's someone that wanted to just stop by for a couple minutes and talk to everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the CEO and co-founder of Palantir, Dr. Alex Karp.
Hey.
What's up?
Well, I'm happy to be here with my brothers in arms, and sisters. Yeah.
So this is a live chat. This is the people I talk to every single day, and they have been following your journey.
By the way, it's the whole DPO humiliate the experts thing, which I think we together pulled off, unlike any other company in history, where they derided us at 6 because they knew so much about software. They derided us all the way up because they knew so much about software. They were crying when the S&P happened. They're afraid that I'm sending Lentinol-laced drones, which obviously was a joke. But, apparently they didn't understand the joke. Some people on the woke right and left don't get the joke.
How does it feel? The stock was $6. Obviously, things have changed. Retail believed. Institutions did it. Now institutions are like, well, I guess you got to. I mean, how does it feel?
Institutions are like, oh, yeah, valuation's so high. I'm like, well, when did you invest? Yeah. But, well, no, it feels great. But honestly, look, our business was built and is built to provide an unfair advantage to people that are fighting on the front line for things like truth, rule of law, meritocracy. But the small individual person that risked their own assets and didn't have a lot it always reminded me of me. I didn't have a lot. I risked everything to build what I co-built, and everybody was laughing all the way. And it's really important for the progress of humanity, for truth seekers who risk everything they have to win. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to win, but I can sure as fuck tell you it motivated me every day. And like a lot of these things are like, it's like the Palantir does not happen automatically. Like if you just, you guys follow our products, but it's like PG, Foundry, Ontology, Apollo, Maven. The building the product, the conceptualization of the product, the getting it to the point where it can be moderately deployed with highly technical, so deltas, moving it to the point where it can be serviced and extended by FDEs and then by the client, and then magically getting paid for it. This is like war-like effort over a long period of time. Not to mention the people that are on the inside creating value are some of the smartest and often most difficult people on the planet, and you've got to get them to actually align. And that, but again, all of that would have been for naught if at the DPO people had not shown up and said, "Fuck the institutional experts. They're not actually even doing the math. They just don't like us because they don't like us. They like us. They hate us so much they will not look at the underlying math or the product." And
why do you think they hated you? Why did retail see something special?
Well, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, I look and feel like a retail person. I'm like a, dyslexic misfit that, never really was ever going to have a real place in the institutional structure. They were never going to value me. The fact that I had my own ideas, or we had our own ideas that were not 100% derivative from a playbook that existed 100 years ago, that is not working anymore. And that should not work anymore. And when you're looking at Palantir and you're like, you got your day job, you're looking at, okay, just a minute, this guy's saying some stuff. I kind of think that's crazy, or I think that's interesting, but I know how people react to me when I just say things that turn out to be true. And I'm going to go put my own efforts behind this person. And by the way, in 2 ways, really, putting up money and then defending us. Yeah. Palantir has been under constant attack since inception. First, it was the Valley saying I was a clown, taking all these talented people and getting them to work on, saving the West. Then it was, the FDE model could never scale until like 5 years.
Well, now every company seems to have a forward deployed engineer.
Well, there's this Wittgenstein quote that I love. Ein Regel folgen zu glauben ist kein Regel zu folgen, which is to believe you're following a rule is not to follow a rule. It's like, yeah, they all have FDAs. They're just salespeople with no ontology. Like, it's crazy that you think this is going to work without orchestrating who does what, without the best people in the world, and without ontology and Foundry. And by the way, this is a scale game, not a venture game. So you don't have scale, you don't have ontology, you do not have the internal orchestration, you do not have understanding of where the high fidelity data sets are, and you have some ridiculous idea of how LLMs are going to work. And you like, you think your job is to just say, hey, we're Palantir because we have some fake FDE that's actually a salesperson that's not an engineer, and there's no echo, there's no delta, there's no ontology, there's no culture. We benefit. This is another reason why retail people have loved us. Palantir internal culture, as you know, is flat, non-hierarchical, and
That's why you're able to recruit guys like him.
Yeah, well, it's not just him on the in the inside; it's people like you on the outside.
Yeah.
Because, what kind of culture would you like to work with? You want some Nimrod who did their MBA at some school telling you how things have to be, or do you want to build your life? But I'll tell you a variable that's also playing a role. If you have orchestration on the inside, which is, by the way, and the other thing is, all this is artistic. Our orchestration is artistic. The FDA is artistic. Building ontology is actually a combination of artistry and then code. So it's like both. There's a way in which time is compounding. So you could look at our financials, 94, 93, 68, 48, meaning the relevant financials of our company. And you could say, well, how's that possible? Well, it's because all the values are accreting to artistic orchestration on the inside, on the outside, ontology, fidelity, and that actually compounds time.
Yeah.
So it's what's happening is that we're getting 3 years of value in 1 year. And this is going to accelerate. And why does this happen? Because on a normal company, when you have an impulse from the outside, it de facto goes into a time delay machine where it goes through the hierarchy. Palantir, there's no time delay machine. If we're on something, we're on it. Now, this is obviously not a perfect company, and we have parts of our company that are like Europe where they don't embrace these things. But again, there's an acceleration of time, and the orchestration ontology is like calling yourself an FDE is like me calling myself a linebacker.
Let's take one of those open secrets. So one analogy that brought me to Palantir 13 years ago is this, your description of how the analogy of the FDE works a French kitchen. Do you want to tell the open secret?
Yeah. So the way, first of all, the biggest thing about Palantir is the whole structure is built downstream of value creation.
Correct.
Right. So then we had this thing where PG, you had NLP technology and a very complicated product, but it still could not do what a client would want in a complicated environment because the technology wasn't there. And the kind of technology is never there. You're always pushing it beyond the front line. And when I was very poor and sitting in France, just largely reading books and learning the fine art of picking up French women, which is an art. I noticed that, the reason the food was so good is the person serving the food was a technical expert, and they were preparing the food till the final mile. And that meant that it was like an ongoing, but it also meant they were seeing what the client wanted and didn't want. And by the way, if the client asked for horseradish on their souffle, they're like, fuck you, I'm not doing that because that's not how it works. But if the client was like, well, I want a derivative of horseradish, and I'm like, okay. So having an instrument on the final mile that actually can accurately document what the partner wants, but also can say no to completely ridiculous shit, extends your product, allows you to build what they ought to build, and gets truth into your enterprise. And that compounds all the way through.
And truth and authenticity is rare. I think one of the reasons people resonate with my journey is because you guys didn't make money for 20 years. Now you're profitable. Now the street really cares about you guys because you were so focused on delivering value. Because you knew the money would eventually find the value. I have not really monetized my audience for the past 5 years and never asked for subscriptions or things like that because I know that the attention and providing value day in and day out unconditionally will work out in the long term. Do you think people realize, or at least the market realizes, that Palantir's delivering value, and that's what you get a multiple?
Again, this is why. I mean, the market, first of all, they're so misaligned because at the end of the day, you got to remember, you invest in us because you saw something like yourself. They're petrified that something like us could actually be right. So, it's like, of course, they're going to be a huge discount
because it destroys the software industrial complex.
That's of course that's a software version.
To build a business.
Well, it's but it's just in a world where you're right. What is their job?
Huh.
What is their job? It's so, and also they have all these things where they're perfect and we're imperfect. Yeah. But what if we are the way, what matters in the world is disruption. And by the way, where they were right in the past was the value was incremental. So maybe having the right teeth and the right parents and the right school was much more important than being right. But that's no longer the case, which is why, like, and people are just go mad. I mean, like, look, is there any, sometimes I go on X and I'm like, does anyone talk about anything besides Palantir? I mean, now I love the fans, but I mean, on the negative side, it's like, is there any woke person, right or left, that doesn't wake up in the morning saying, I hate Palantir? Is there any business where the person's not running around on TV being like, I don't know, whatever they're saying every
Why
day?
do you think the woke left and right have put you in the Venn diagram of hating Palantir?
Well, now you always have to steel man these things. Part of the leaders of the woke right and left are selling a narrative where Palantir is anti-civil liberties or anti-worker. This is just not true. We are very pro-civil liberties. And if you define civil liberties as we not only help enforce them, but we are the single hardest product in the world to break, which is why we suffered. I mean, without naming names, there are agencies in the world that are not actually pro-civil liberties. Those agencies never bought our product. So as a category, there are exceptions. SIGINT organizations hate Palantir. And if you wanted to do civil liberties violations, anyone technical, and by the way, I encourage anyone I love skeptics. If you're a skeptic of what I'm saying, take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes and look at our architecture and compare it to not to your divine idea of what software would look like if you knew anything about software or to any other software product in the world. And then it's like, it is the hardest product to abuse. It's the hardest product to manipulate. Then on the anti-worker thing, yeah, large language models are excruciatingly valuable when combined with ontology, with tribal knowledge, combined with FDEs who are actually FDEs, when combined with internal and extra orchestration and high fidelity data sets. Okay. The LLM industrial complex had to oversell what they were doing because the ELO scores are however you want to do the hill climbing.
They had to prove they weren't a commodity when they were.
Yeah, well, or that the hill climbing was actual reality. It's hill climbing. It's not actual enterprise results. And they're developing in a linear way, and there are many options, not one. The non-linear output of LLMs is as a natural resource. So they oversold this, and the way they oversold it was saying your workers are not going to have a job. And then the workers are like, yeah, but screw that. Right. Why am I transferring all my wealth to these unlikable people? So that is like those two things are real issues and have to be discussed. I would encourage skeptics to just remember, if you want to learn from retail investors of Palantir, which I would say is one of the best group of people you can learn from, you've got to go into your own time, your own space, and validate what people are saying. And then the other thing you really have to do is, being right is an art, it's not a science. So if somebody's telling you Palantir is going to eviscerate your civil liberties, it's a conspiracy, Karp is a conspiracy by the CIA to take away your liberties. Okay, well then you could just prima facie ask, why did they hire the company that they liked the least and transfer billions of revenue to him personally?
Why did they hire the company that sued them?
Yeah, well, then we had to sue the DoD, but even like, okay, so there's a magical lottery where I win it. Okay. Okay, great. So it's like, well, yeah, I love the idea that I magically win a lottery. So it's like and then what about the people who like worked at Palantir for like 10 years who are like dedicated their life? Like, we're just working magically all the time around the clock with the highest IQ, most difficult people in the world. By the way, who are mostly American. Many of them come from the Midwest, look exactly like our retail investor base. And I was
talking to Cam Hardaway the other day.
Yeah, and, exactly. Yeah.
Tall Christian, 7 kids.
Oh, well, no, the whole. So you have the left and the right. It's like Palantir is a Jewish conspiracy led by a motley, like completely, uniquely structured mutt that somehow it's like, yeah, well, how do you explain all honestly, most people at Palantir who've worked at Palantir are white male Christian.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, but they're dedicating their life to my conspiracy. The whole thing is, but the more important thing is, if you're on this feed or you're listening to this video, you are somebody who can have a huge impact in life. Verify and develop your own opinion. Then when you start to notice somebody who's consistently right, the rebuttal presumption is they're probably right. And that's how you actually win. And by the way, that person may not be likable for you in the beginning, but the person you like may not be on your side. Like, look, is the Democratic Party on the side of poor people for real? I mean, like I'm an unhappy Democrat at core. It's like could we actually help poor people in this country, or could we just say some BS that is never going to help poor people? Like, oh yeah, I'm afraid of poor people, but nothing works. It's all dangerous. Doesn't work. And there's versions of this. I don't know. You have any other questions you want to ask before I keep ramping?
Yeah, I know you got to go, but we really appreciate you taking the time for this. A lot of people have been waiting to just hear from you live for authentic for a long time. I guess what is the message to everyone who's been following your journey and in the face of the skeptics that they deal with every day understands that Palantir's a special company?
No. Well, first of all, like, look at our products, look at what we're doing, look at the people we've gathered on the inside. Look at like people, look at the people who hate on us. By the way, but we do need those skeptics. We need them attacking us. Like every time these people attack me and Palantir, I wake up and think about orchestration.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and you should too. It's like, one of the lessons for Palantirian supporters is like, we need the skeptics. We need the people who are saying, we're eviscerating civil liberties so that we can expose our ontology and make it better, and our branching and our ACLs, and teach people what this means and how it works. We need these people also so we can teach people what it means to build, that we're not excluding them. We need the people who are saying this is some weird conspiracy at the expense of X, Y, and Z, to expose people to what real thought is. We need to have a discussion about whether the West is superior and how. Are we really willing to fight for it? We need to have a discussion about, like, what does corporate hierarchy look like? Is it going to be some kind of, is it like, how do we move it to?
These are hard, nuanced discussions.
Hard, nuanced discussions. We need like their CEO saying, I don't know, like every day we're expensive or whatever is being said. It's like, we need them to expose, hey, I'm sorry, Chad gets laid and you don't, it's like, I don't know, there's hard truths in the world. Yeah. We're, why they're not nice enough. They're not nice enough. They get all the girls. I don't know. It's like, yeah, they're like, you got to perform. Like performance matters and being right matters, and organizing people in a meritocratic, fair way where you have delivery really is decisive. And we need you, Palantir needs you. We need you to defend us. One of the lessons we're going to see in broader society is you can't sit back and not defend yourself. If you're a Palantirian or a Palantirian supporter, you are very likely on the cutting edge of believing in agency, meritocracy, truth, that the small person can win, that the big person who's entitled, it may be wrong, that even though they have all the reputation and everything, they may have to someday go on TV and complain about how you're getting the goods. But we are going to have to defend ourselves, because we will not win by sitting back and just saying, but what we know is obviously true. Yeah, it was never obviously true. Like how many, like all these articles about us, just normal, like people who can't do math, don't understand product. Yeah, we have to defend ourselves. And so like this, and by the way, it's like we're at the infancy of time collapsing. Like every day is going to be faster. And those days collapse based on internal orchestration, lack of hierarchy, something like an ontology, something like Foundry, and the world's most talented people.
Fannie Mae, 6 months to 6 seconds. I mean, that is real. And no articles seem to cover that.
Well, also 94. I mean, like, this is the thing. I mean, like, I didn't enter this being overly fixated on financial metrics. And interestingly, I think they are downstream of value creation. I deeply believe that. And we've built the company around that. But, like, argue with rule of 94, 93. I think it's 68% in the market that matters the most in the world, America. We have 68% growth in America. And what does growth mean? It's like top line and bottom line. So like this, like 94. We have people complain we're too successful in the U.S. government. We are very successful, but it's 40 points below, commercial. They see wide adoption. Then look at the kind of people that are at Palantir or once at Palantir and support Palantir versus the people that weren't at Palantir, couldn't be at Palantir, never want to be at Palantir, never invested, and think we're some kind of conspiracy that is like a negative indicator of society. Just compare. Judge the people by the fruits they bear. Look at the Palantir fruits. Look at what we do. I mean, and then there's a lot of things we can't talk about that we're doing. Look at the imputed goodness we bring to the world. So in any case, I'm very grateful to you guys. And that you're on the front line. I'm very enthusiastic. We are very enthusiastic about Palantir, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you for inspiring a generation.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
You.